What's up guys, Travis here with Lucky Tackle Box. Guys, A-rigs, umbrella rigs, Alabama rigs, this can be confusing and downright intimidating unless you understand kind of some of the basics when throwing these different baits. So today, we're gonna use Reaction Strike's little 4-inch thin shad to set up an A-rig and really talk about the basics of getting started with these things. Okay guys, when picking a rig just to start off with, I would stay away from one of these bigger rigs. You've got to use some heavier weights, bigger baits on it, heavier line, bigger rod, and if you do one of those things incorrectly, you're gonna have a bad experience with it and you're gonna tend to stay away from the A-rigs. So I like starting off with a smaller compact rig. This one's only about 6 inches long. It's gonna swim well with some smaller weights, some smaller baits like we're using today, and I can use a medium to medium heavy rod and really have some control over this bait and therefore have a better chance of success. All right guys, so what I have right here is a 5-wire A-rig, okay? I got 4 and then one in the center right here that's a little bit longer than the other ones. And I've also got 4 blades. Those blades are great to add some flash to things and really draw the fish's attention in. On top, I've got 2 stingers. Depending on what state you're in, they have regulations on how many hooks you can have. Also, the Reaction Strike has 4 baits in there. So you see I have 5, so either you have to buy another pack, or what I like to do a lot of times is I'll take these 2 little dummy baits off the top, and instead I will replace them with more blades. So 2 more blades on top, and those you can buy at any kind of tackle shop or anything like that. When talking about how to set up these rigs, I have 2 topics that I really try to emphasize. First is balance of the bait, and the second is presentation. When starting off with balance, you want to have the weight distributed evenly on that rig. So usually I have my 2 bottom ones equal weights. So on this one I actually have 1/8 ounce weights. And then on the middle one, I've gone a little bit heavier so I can add just a tiny bit more weight to this so it gets down a little bit deeper, and so that's a 3/16 ounce weight. But the most important thing is when this thing is swimming in the water, when you're running it next to the boat, you've got to make sure that this thing is running correctly. And if it's not, switch up the weights to make sure it is. All right, the next is presentation. You want something that these fish are actually going to want to eat, right? So we've got all these baits here. If we're getting short strikes or they're hitting these little dummy rigs, what we want to do is change these dummy rigs to blades. So that gives them less of an option. They're still coming in, but when they're trying to figure out what to eat, they're more likely to eat one of these baits with a hook on it. Also, some things that I like to do is change this one middle bait. Sometimes I'll give it a little chartreuse tail, or which will give the fish something more to zone into, and sometimes that can give you higher hookup rates. Some other options are to add just a bigger swim bait to that middle one, or add a different color. These are all ways these fish, as they're coming in to attack this school, have something more to zone in on. They see that one different bait, they really go for that one and zone in on that, and you can get a higher percentage hookup rate with that. For rigging, I use anywhere from 15 to 20 pound Seaguar mono or fluorocarbon line, or I'll go to a braid, somewhere between a 50 and 60 pound braided line. Then I pair that up on Daiwa's Tatula, either 6.3 or 7.3 to 1 gear ratio. Lastly, I put that on Castaway 7-foot heavy fast action rod. All right guys, once you have this bait balanced and you've got the presentation you want, it really becomes why it got its name, the stupid rig, because this rig is so easy to throw. You just cast out and reel it in, you can have success. A few little adjustments that I make while I'm retrieving this thing is first the position of the rod tip. If I keep the rod tip down close to the water, it's gonna get a little more depth out of that bait. If I lift it up, I'm gonna make that bait come up higher in the water column if I'm in shallower water or if I'm coming over any kind of structure. The last thing I like to do, just like spinner baits, crank baits, any kind of reaction bait, every once in a while I want to give it a little twitch of the rod tip or a couple quick turns of that handle. And what that's going to do is it's going to flare up those blades a little bit, and it's also going to cause some erratic motion with those little swim baits. And a lot of times that can be what triggers a strike. One last tip when using these A-rigs. When really starting out and trying to understand these things, use thin wire hooks. What happens is if you snag up while you're trying to figure out different depths and stuff these things are running at, all you got to do is yank them hard enough and these hooks will actually bend out and you won't lose your entire A-rig. But remember, the same thing can happen when you're fighting big fish. So you want to loosen up that drag so when that big fish finally bites and is making those runs, it's letting out line instead of pulling that hook free. Good luck. All right, location. Guys, this time of the year, there really isn't a bad place to throw this. I try to keep it under 10 feet of water, especially with a smaller rig like this. It's a little harder to get that depth when you're using light weights. But what I'm gonna do is I just kind of cruise around the shallows. I hit up these long little points, any kind of shallow bays and stuff. Remember, these fish are gonna be looking to move up with these warmer days. They're looking for places to spawn. They're looking for places to feed up on. And this is a great bait to really move around and find those active fish. And you're giving them something they're looking for. They're looking to feed up on big old schools of bait and stuff. And this is exactly what these A-rigs are supposed to mimic.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, baby, that's a good one. Come on, come on, come on. Ho, ho, ho. Come here, come here, come here, come here. Come here, let me hold you. Oh, yeah, look at that, look at that. Guys, when it comes to throwing A-rigs, just keep it simple. Keep a small profile, keep these smaller little baits, and if you really just do the little tweaks and everything and just kind of try to keep it as basic as possible, you'll really learn the nuances and everything of this bait. You can catch yourself some great fish and a lot of action to go with that. And the perfect starting point is these reaction strike little 4-inch thin shads. The reason being is they mimic so much forage in the lake and they're not a overpowering size. Small little profile, basically goes in line with just keeping it simple, guys. Once again, I'm Travis with Lucky Tackle Box. If you enjoyed the video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, to check out any of the gear we're wearing or using, look at the description box below and there should be a link for you. See you next time. All right, buddy.